They said a maid should know her place, that my wrapper was shame, not style. But when I untied it, even heaven stopped to watch, stayed till the end, because what fell that night wasn't just fabric. It was every lie they ever told about me.
The chandelier light catches the gold threading first, just a glimmer, then a cascade of brilliance that makes the entire reception hall fall silent. A woman stands at the center of the marble floor, her hands moving slowly to untie the faded wrapper at her waist. The fabric falls away like a curtain dropping on opening night, and beneath it blooms a gown so exquisite that guests forget to breathe. Their champagne glasses pause midair. Their laughter dies in their throats. The woman who served them drinks moments ago now stands transformed, wrapped in cream silk and intricate beadwork that tells a story older than their mockery. They had mocked her wrapper, not knowing it covered a crown. Morning in Sur-L'air tastes like plantain smoke and exhaust. Adèle stands before a cracked mirror in her one-room apartment, pinning her wrapper with practiced fingers. Once vibrant blue adire, now bleached thin by years of washing. She smooths it over her chest, adjusting the tuck so it sits properly. Her reflection shows a woman in her early 30s, beautiful in the quiet way that people overlook when they're searching for flash and noise. Headscarf tied, bag in hand, she steps into horns, hawkers, and suya steam rising from last night's rain. She walks past the mechanic workshop where men are already arguing over football, past the woman selling a cara who knows her face but not her story, past the turning that used to lead to her father's shop before it became someone else's pharmaceutical store. The Okike mansion in Ikoyi rises like a monument to excess. White walls, imported iron gates, security men in crisp uniforms who wave her through with barely a glance. She is furniture to them, the help arriving early to prepare for the wedding. Her feet know the path to the service entrance, around the back where the real Lagos doesn't need to be hidden because the guests will never see it. Inside, the mansion hums with controlled chaos. Event planners bark orders in that particular mix of English and Yoruba that only Lagos understands. Maids rush past carrying towers of china plates. The smell of jollof rice and fried meat already perfumes the air, though the wedding won't start for hours. Adèle finds her station in the kitchen, where the head housekeeper, a stern woman named Sister Ngozi, assigns her to serving duty. "You'll carry champagne," Sister Ngozi says, not looking up from her clipboard. "Don't talk to guests unless they ask you something directly. Don't stare. Don't drop anything. The bride is very particular." Adèle nods. She already knows about the bride. The other maids gather in clusters, their voices rising and falling like music. They wear matching Ankara uniforms provided by the family. Bright, new, expensive. Adèle stands out in her faded wrapper and plain white blouse. One of the younger maids, a girl named Blessing with two sharp eyes, nudges her friend and speaks just loud enough to be heard. "See this one? Oh, she come wedding dressed like she going to market." Her friend giggles. "A beg, maybe she no get better cloth." The laughter spreads like spilled water. Adèle's fingers tighten on the tray she's holding, but she says nothing. Words are weapons, and she learned long ago that silence can be armor. The bride arrives mid-morning in a convoy of Range Rovers. Tamar Okeke-to-be sweeps into the mansion like weather, trailing perfume and entitlement. She's beautiful in the way that money polishes people, skin glowing from expensive treatments, hair in perfect goddess braids studded with gold clasps, wearing a pre-wedding robe that probably cost more than Adèle's yearly rent. She doesn't look at the maids. Why would she? They are part of the scenery, like the flowers in the ice sculptures. But she sees the wrapper. Tamar pauses mid-stride, her eyes catching on Adèle's faded blue fabric. For just a heartbeat, something flickers across her face. Recognition? Fear? Before her expression smooths into practiced disdain. "Sister Ngozi," she calls out, her voice honey-sweet and venomous. Why is your staff dressed like they came from a burial ceremony? This is my wedding, not a pauper's funeral. The room stills. Sister Ngozi rushes over, apologizing, explaining that Adeze is temporary help, that she'll stay in the kitchen, that the bride won't have to see her again. Tamar waves a dismissive hand, already losing interest. Just keep her away from my guests. I won't have my wedding photos ruined by someone who looks like she shops at Katangwa Market. She glides away, her entourage following like baby ducks. The other maids look at Adeze with a mix of pity and relief that they weren't the target. Blessing whispers something about knowing one's place. Adeze returns to her tray arrangement, her hands steady even as something old and painful twists in her chest. The mansion's elderly driver appears in the kitchen doorway. Baba Chiki is small and weathered, with hands that tell stories of work and time. He wears his usual uniform, pressed khaki shirt, dark trousers, a cap that's seen better days. The other staff barely notice him. He's part of the furniture too, invisible in the way that loyal servants become. But he sees Adeze. He sees her in a way that makes her hands pause over the champagne glasses. Baba Chike approaches slowly, picking up a discarded napkin, pretending to help with arrangements. When he speaks, his voice is low and gentle, meant only for her ears. You never know who God hides in plain clothes, he says, not looking at her directly. These people, they see cloth, not character. They see today, not tomorrow. Adeze glances at him. Up close she notices his hands, scarred from needle pricks, stained with decades of thread dye. Taylor's hands. Before she can respond, he slips something into her apron pocket. She feels the cool metal of a sewing needle and a small spool of thread. In case cloth tears tonight, he says, already moving away. God's timing is perfect, even when people's hearts are wicked. Then he's gone, disappearing into the controlled chaos of wedding preparation. Adeze touches her pocket, feeling the needle through the fabric. Something about the gesture reaches past her armor, touching the place where hope used to live. The hours blur into a montage of work, arranging tables, polishing silverware, staying out of sight while the mansion transforms into a fantasy. By afternoon, guests begin arriving in their own Range Rovers and Mercedes, wearing Aso Ibai that costs more than most Nigerians earn in a year. The women compete silently through their gel, their jewelry, their makeup. The men swagger in Agbada, their belly's testimony to good living. Everyone is someone. Business owners, politicians, socialites whose faces grace blogs and Instagram stories. Adeze serves champagne with her eyes lowered, moving through the crowd like smoke. She hears fragments of conversation, deals being made, gossip being traded, the endless Lagos hustle dressed in silk and gold. No one looks at her face. She is a pair of hands offering drinks, nothing more, until the moment arrives. The voice that starts the countdown to revelation comes from Tamar herself, holding court in the bride's preparation room, where Adeze has been sent to retrieve empty glasses. Tamar sits before a mirror, surrounded by her bridesmaids, all of them beautiful, all of them eager to witness and celebrate. This dress, Tamar announces, gesturing to the gown hanging nearby, was imported directly from Dubai. Cost 4 million naira. The designer is exclusive, works only with elite clients. Everyone will be talking about it for months. The bridesmaids coo appropriately. One of them reaches out to touch the fabric, cream silk with beadwork that catches light. It's stunning, Tamar. You have such incredible taste. Always, Tamar agrees, admiring herself in the mirror. Some people think fashion is just about wearing expensive things, but it's about vision, about knowing quality when you see it. Adeze picks up the glasses slowly, her movements careful. Her eyes rest on the gown for just a moment, long enough to see the stitching, the pattern, the particular way the beads form a circular motif with a cross through the center. Her father's signature, her signature, the design Tamar stole 2 years ago. Wait, Tamar's voice cuts through the room. She's looking at Adai's now, really looking, and something dangerous glints in her eyes. You, the maid, what are you staring at? Adais drops her gaze. Nothing, Ma. Just collecting glasses. You were looking at my dress. Tamar stands, moving closer. Do you even know what you're looking at? This is designer fashion, not the kind of thing you'd understand. The bridesmaids titter. One of them, a woman with a sharp face and sharper nails, adds fuel to the fire. Tamar, she probably thought it was for sale at Balogan Market. More laughter. Tamar seems to relax, feeding off their validation. But there's still something in her eyes when she looks at Adesi, something that looks almost like fear wrapped in cruelty. Go, she says, flicking her fingers. And next time, keep your eyes on the floor where they belong. Adaizi leaves with the tray, her heart beating steadily, her face a mask. Behind her, she hears Tamar's voice rising again, telling her bridesmaids about the photographer who'll be shooting, the coverage they'll get, how this wedding will trend for weeks. In the service corridor, Adaz stops. She leans against the cool wall, closes her eyes, and lets herself remember. 2 years earlier, Lagos was different. Or perhaps Adas was different, unbroken, full of the kind of hope that comes from talent and hard work paying off. Her workshop in Yaba occupied a bright corner space with large windows that caught morning light. Adai's designs hung in hand-painted letters above the door. Inside, 3 sewing machines hummed like prayers, and sketches covered every wall. Designs that mixed traditional Nigerian patterns with contemporary cuts, creating something uniquely hers. Her father had taught her everything. Chief Okafor was a master tailor who believed that cloth carried memory and that every stitch should tell truth. He showed her the circle and cross pattern when she was 16, guiding her hands over fabric as he explained its meaning. See this, Ada M., he said, using his pet name for her. The circle is life, no beginning, no end, always moving. The cross in the center is faith, the point that holds everything together. When you sew this into your work, you're not just making clothes, you're making something that lasts. She perfected the technique over years, developing her own variation that incorporated tiny beads along the circle's edge, making the pattern catch light like sunrise on water. Her designs began attracting attention, first from friends, then from their friends, then from people who saw photos on Instagram and came looking for quality. That's how Tamar found her. She walked into the workshop on a Tuesday afternoon, expensive but understated, in designer jeans and a simple top, her hair in a sleek ponytail. Adeze remembers thinking she looked like someone who belonged in magazines, not small workshops in Yaba. I've been seeing your work everywhere, Tamar said, her smile warm and genuine. You're incredibly talented. I have some events coming up, high-profile things, and I need pieces that will make a statement. Can you help me? Adeze could. She did. She poured her heart into 5 different designs for Tamar, each one showcasing her signature work. Tamar visited the workshop frequently during the creation process, asking questions, admiring the craftsmanship, taking photos for inspiration, and to show friends who might want to hire you too. They became friendly. Not quite friends, Tamar's world was too different, too polished, but friendly enough that Adaizi trusted her. When Tamar suggested they might work together on a larger scale, maybe even partner on a fashion line, Adaize allowed herself to dream bigger. The betrayal came fast and complete. 1 month after collecting her final dress, Tamar launched Tamar Couture with a massive event at the Echo Hotel. The photos flooded social media, Tamar in stunning outfits, all featuring Adaizi's designs. The circle and cross pattern appeared everywhere, marketed as Tamar's signature innovation. Fashion bloggers praised her creativity, sponsors lined up. Within weeks, Tamar was the new face of Nigerian fashion, gracing magazine covers and styling celebrities. Adaeze saw it online, disbelief turning to horror. She called Tamar repeatedly, calls that went to voicemail. She sent messages, read but unanswered. Finally, she went to the boutique Tamar had opened in Victoria Island, where glass and marble announced serious money. The confrontation happened on the shop floor, in front of customers and staff. Adaeze brought her sketches, her original designs, proof of creation dates. Tamar looked at them like they were trash someone had blown in from the street. These, Tamar held up one of Adaze's drawings, her voice dripping with theatrical disbelief. You think you designed my work? Darling, I've been creating fashion since before you knew what a sewing machine was. These sketches are clearly copies, probably traced from photos of my pieces. You're lying, Adaeze said, her voice shaking. I made those designs. You took photos in my workshop. I took photos because I was being polite, Tamar interrupted smoothly. I felt sorry for you, working in that small space. I thought maybe giving you some exposure might help your little business. But now you're claiming you designed my work? That's theft, actually, and defamation. The customers were watching. The staff were recording. Tamar's assistant stepped forward with papers, documentation showing design dates that predated Adaeze's work by months. Fabricated evidence, but professional and official looking. Security escorted Adaeze out while Tamar called after her, I hope you get help for whatever delusion is making you behave this way. The video went viral. Not as designer exposes theft, but as delusional tailor harasses a successful entrepreneur. The comments were vicious. Adaeze's workshop received threatening calls. Clients canceled orders. Someone spray-painted jealous liar on her shop door. Her father saw it all. Chief Okafor had been slowing down that year, his hands not as steady, his breath sometimes short. But he'd been proud, so proud, of his daughter's success. The humiliation, watching strangers call his Ada M a fraud, seeing her work stolen and her reputation destroyed, it broke something in him that his body couldn't repair. He had the stroke on a Thursday morning, collapsing in the workshop he'd run for 40 years. Adaeze found him there, surrounded by fabric and thread and unfinished dreams. He died 3 days later, holding her hand, whispering, "The truth, always, finds light." After the funeral, Adaeze sold everything, the machines, the fabric, the sketches. She couldn't bear to look at them. She packed what little remained of her life into 2 bags and disappeared into the Lagos crowds. That particular kind of disappearance where you're still visible, but no longer seen. She took whatever work came, cleaning houses, selling airtime at a phone shop, eventually maid work, because it came with accommodation and meals and required no questions about her past. When she saw the job posting for temporary wedding staff at the Okiki mansion, she didn't recognize the name immediately. It was only when she arrived and heard the bride's voice calling out instructions that memory crashed through her like sickness. Tamar, getting married, thriving, while Adaeze served champagne in a faded wrapper. The memory releases her slowly, leaving her standing in the corridor with tears she refuses to let fall. She touches the needle in her pocket, feels its sharp promise. The evening arrives with golden light and orchestrated perfection. The wedding ceremony is traditional first, elaborate, beautiful, full of prayers and dancing and money spray. Adaeze watches from the edges as Tamar and her groom move through rituals that bind them before God and family. Everyone is joyful. Everyone is celebrating. Baba Chike finds her as the sun sets and the party moves to the reception hall. He appears beside her in the dimming light, his presence quiet but purposeful. "You have steady hands," he says, not looking at her. "I see the way you fix things, how you tie that wrapper like someone taught you proper. Your father was Chief Okafor, Abi?" Adaeze's breath catches. "How did you—" "I was his apprentice," Baba Chiki says simply. Long time ago, before he opened his own shop, he taught me that circle and cross pattern. He said it was for his daughter who would do great things. His eyes finally meet hers, ancient and knowing. I recognized you the moment you walked in. Been waiting to see if you recognized yourself. The words hit somewhere deep. Adais feels her armor cracking. He's gone, she whispers. Everything is gone. No, Baba Cheek's voice is firm. The work is still here. He taps his chest, then hers. The skill is still here. And tonight, we have time. He leads her to his small room behind the garage, a space no one in the main house remembers exists. Inside, arranged on his narrow bed, is a sewing kit she'd recognize anywhere. Worn leather case, brass clasps, the initials CO burned into the corner. Her father's tools. He gave it to me before he got sick, Baba Chiki explains. Said if something happened, I should keep it until his daughter was ready. Said I'd know when. He opens the case, revealing needles, thread in every color, small scissors, sharp as prayers. Tonight is when. Ready for what? But Adais already knows. To show them who you are. Baba Chiki pulls out a folded bundle of fabric, cream silk that catches the single bulb's light. I've been collecting materials for years, waiting. Your father taught me to trust God's timing. They work through the night. Baba Chiki's room becomes a secret workshop where old skills wake from sleep. Adai's hands remember what her heart had forgotten. The particular way to hold fabric. The rhythm of stitching. The meditation of creation. They barely speak. They don't need to. The work is conversation enough. The gown takes shape slowly, lovingly. The circle and cross pattern blooms across the bodice, each bead placed with precision. Adais had sketched this design years ago. Her masterpiece. The one she'd been saving for something special. The one Tamar had photographed and stolen. Now Adais creates the original, the true version, stitch by perfect stitch. Baba Chike works beside her, his old hands still skilled, still faithful. Sometimes he hums old Igbo songs, sometimes he shares quiet wisdom. Your father used to say that thieves can copy your work, but they can never copy your spirit, he tells her around midnight. They wear your designs like costumes. You wear them like skin. Dawn finds them exhausted, but finished. The gown hangs before them, proof of skill, testimony of truth. It's more than beautiful. It's inevitable. They will see, Baba Chiki says, and they will know. If you believe every fall has a comeback, type "Grace will speak for me" in the comments, and stay till the end. Adais folds the gown carefully, wraps it in old newspaper, and tucks it under her wrapper before returning to her tiny staff room. She sleeps for 2 hours, her dreams full of her father's voice and the sound of sewing machines. The wedding reception transforms the mansion into pageantry. The main hall glows with chandelier light and gold decorations. The Aso Ebi crowd enters like a parade. Women in matching lace and gel, men in coordinated agbada, everyone peacocking their wealth. The DJ plays Afrobeats and gospel, the dance floor already packed before dinner even starts. Adais serves champagne in her faded wrapper, the hidden gown pressed against her skin like a secret heartbeat. She moves through the crowd invisibly, just another server with a tray. Guests take drinks without looking at her face, their attention on each other, on the spectacle, on the bride who's about to make her grand entrance. Tamar appears to a storm of applause and camera flashes. She's changed into her reception dress, the one she claims is from Dubai, the one that cost millions. The cream silk and beadwork catch light as she moves, and the crowd gasps appropriately. Fashion bloggers in attendance immediately start posting photos. The circle and cross pattern is visible, proclaimed as Tamar's signature innovation. She dances with her groom, a nice-looking man whose family money matches her hustle. They look perfect together, like a magazine spread. The MC announces them as the fashion power couple, and everyone cheers. Adais watches from beside a pillar. The gown is beautiful, she has to admit. The beadwork is quality. The stitching clean. Whoever Tamar paid to execute her stolen design did good work. But Adaz can see the flaws. The places where the pattern doesn't quite align, where the beads are too uniform, lacking the subtle variation that makes handwork sing. It's a perfect copy of a photograph. It's not creation. Your dress is stunning, a guest gushes to Tamar between songs. Where did you say it came from? Dubai, Tamar says smoothly. Custom designed. The pattern is actually my signature work, something I've been developing for years. I call it Circle of Grace, symbolic of eternal love and divine blessing. A daisy's hand tightens on her tray. Circle of Grace. Her father's pattern, renamed and remarked. The moment arrives without announcement. Adaz is serving champagne near the dance floor when Tamar spins too quickly, her heel catching the hem of another guest's dress. There's a stumble, a splash, red wine cascading across white tablecloth and onto Adaz's wrapper. Tamar regains her balance and turns, looking for the source of disruption. Her eyes land on Adaz, on the wine-stained wrapper, and something ugly crosses her face. Perhaps memory, perhaps fear, perhaps just the irritation of someone who's never been accountable. You, Tamar snaps. The music doesn't stop, but the nearby conversations do. Phones start turning toward the scene. Why are you standing so close to the dance floor? The staff is supposed to stay at the sides. I'm sorry, Ma, Adaz says quietly. Someone called for champagne. I don't care what someone called for. Tamar's voice rises, alcohol and adrenaline making her reckless. Look at you. That pathetic wrapper is now stained. You look like you came from under the bridge. This is my wedding. I won't have you ruining my photos looking like... She stops, really looks at Adaz's face. Recognition flashes, quickly hidden. You don't belong here, Tamar finishes, but her voice has changed. Uncertain now. The crowd watches. Someone giggles. Someone else whispers. The moment could end here, Adaz apologizing, leaving, disappearing back into invisibility. But Baba Chike appears at the edge of her vision. He stands near the entrance, his cap in his hands, his eyes meeting hers. He nods once. Adaz sets down her tray. The sound of glass touching marble seems very loud. You're right, she says, her voice calm and clear. I don't belong here dressed like this. Her hands move to her wrapper. The hall has gone completely quiet now, sensing drama, hungry for it. Tamar's face shows the first real crack of fear. What are you? Tamar starts. Adaz unwraps the faded blue cloth. It falls to the floor in a puddle of old cotton, and beneath it, the gown, the real gown, the original creation that exists in no photograph, that was never stolen, because it never existed until last night. Born from memory and skill and a father's teaching. Cream silk that catches chandelier light, like blessing. Beadwork that tells a story in patterns only truth can speak. The circle and cross, perfect and precise, each bead placed with love and grief and unbreakable skill. The hall gasps. It's a sound like wind before rain. If this moment touched you, tap like and subscribe. More stories like this deserve to be told. Adaz stands in the center of the floor, wrapped in proof. The gown fits her like it was made for her, because it was made by her, for her, with every ounce of who she is and has always been. Next to her, Tamar's dress suddenly looks like what it is. A beautiful copy of something imagined, but never born. Expensive fabric hiding empty originality. Guests pull out phones. Camera flashes pop like fireworks. Beside Adaz, the contrast is devastating. Designer versus creator. Performance versus presence. Costume versus skin. Baba Chike removes his cap completely, standing at attention like a soldier witnessing victory. His smile is small but infinite. Tamar's face cycles through emotions. Shock, rage, fear, calculation. She tries to laugh it off. What is this? Some kind of joke? You're wearing a knockoff of my dress. Did you really think? But the crowd isn't stupid. They know fashion, know quality, know the difference between real and replica. The women especially, their eyes trained by years of aso-ebi politics, can see the truth in the stitching. One of them, an older woman dripping in gold, steps closer, examining Adaizi's gown without permission. "This beadwork," she says slowly, "this is hand-done. Each bead individually placed. This isn't machine work." She looks at Tamar's dress, then back at Adaizi's. "Sister, who made this for you?" "I made it," Adaizi says simply. "Last night. This is my design, my father's pattern, the one that was stolen from me 2 years ago." The statement lands like thunder. Conversations explode. People start talking over each other, pulling up phones, searching Instagram, finding old posts. Someone remembers the video of Adaizi being thrown out of Tamar's boutique. Someone else finds the original Adaizi Designs Instagram page, now defunct but still cached, showing sketches with dates. A fashion blogger in attendance starts a live video, narrating, "Guys, you won't believe what's happening at this wedding. The maid just revealed she's the actual designer, and I think she might be telling the truth because..." Tamar tries to regain control. "This is ridiculous. She's clearly disturbed. Security." But security doesn't move. They're watching too. And they know enough to let drama play out when rich people are fighting. This isn't their battle. The MC, sensing the event spiraling, tries to restart the music. The DJ looks confused. Tamar's groom approaches his bride, asking what's happening. "Who is this woman? Why does she have a dress like yours?" Adaizi doesn't move, doesn't argue, doesn't perform. She simply stands, wrapped in truth, letting the gown speak. A younger guest with a sharp eye for trends pulls up side-by-side photos of both dresses on her phone. Posts it with the caption, "Same pattern, but look at the difference in execution. The maid's version is flawless. Wedding drama just became fashion tea. Who is the maid? Designer exposed." The post gets 1,000 likes in 3 minutes. Tamar is crumbling now, her perfect day collapsing. She tries one more time, her voice high and desperate. "You think you can just show up at my wedding and humiliate me? After I helped you? After I gave you work? You gave me nothing," Adaizi says, still calm, still centered. "You took everything. But you couldn't take this." She touches the bodice of the gown. "Because this was still in my father's hands, even after he died, and it's still in mine." Baba Chiki steps forward then, joining Adaizi in the center of the hall. He speaks to the crowd, his voice carrying the weight of years. "Chief Okafor was my master," he says. "Best tailor Lagos ever saw. He taught his daughter everything, including that circle and cross pattern. I watched him create it, watched her perfect it. This woman," he gestures to Adaizi, "is the real designer. I helped her sew this last night because the truth deserves to see light." The crowd is completely on Adaizi's side now. The social media posts are multiplying. Someone found receipts, old business registration documents showing Adaizi designs, predating Tamar Couture. Another person found a YouTube interview where Tamar, months ago, claimed she designed everything personally, despite clearly not having the technical skill. The evidence stacks itself. Truth has momentum. Tamar's wedding is no longer a celebration. It's a crime scene, and she's the suspect. Guests have stopped congratulating her and started whispering. Her bridesmaids look uncertain. Her groom looks confused and angry. Adaizi finally moves. She walks toward the exit, her gown trailing behind her like a river of proof. Baba Chike follows, his cap back on his head, his dignity intact. At the door, Adaizi turns back once, looks at Tamar, who stands frozen in the center of her own reception, surrounded by luxury, but stripped of legitimacy. "Grace will speak for me," Adaizi says quietly. Then she leaves. Behind her, the wedding continues, in name only. But the damage is complete, and the video is already going viral. By morning, Lagos knows the story. The hashtags trend. The Maid designer, Yashan, she removed. Her wrapper, circle and cross original. Fashion blogs write think pieces. The original video from the wedding gets shared millions of times, edited with text overlays, dissected frame by frame. Old classmates from design school come forward with testimonials about Adizi's talent. Former clients share photos of clothes she made them before everything collapsed. Someone finds the original sketches she'd posted years ago, proving creation dates. Tamar tries to control the narrative, posts a statement claiming misunderstanding, artistic inspiration, coincidence. But the internet is unforgiving. Her sponsors drop her within 48 hours. The boutique in Victoria Island closes after protesters gather outside. Fashion magazines that featured her issue retractions. Adiz watches it all from her small room in Surulere. She doesn't post, doesn't comment, doesn't join the pylon. She simply lets the truth exist. Reporters find her eventually. They want interviews, want her story, want to make her the hero of a feel-good redemption arc. She talks to a few carefully, staying focused on her father's legacy and Baba Chiki's faithfulness. She doesn't attack Tamar. She doesn't need to. A lawyer reaches out, offering to help her sue. Fashion schools invite her to teach. Organizations want her to speak about intellectual property theft. The attention is overwhelming and exhausting. But in the quiet moments, in her room late at night, Adizi takes out her father's sewing kit and just holds it. It feels the weight of legacy. Remembers his hands over hers, teaching her that every stitch should tell truth. 3 months later, she opens a small boutique in Yaba. Not flashy, not huge, just a clean, bright space with large windows and a hand-painted sign. Wrapper and Grace. The name comes from Baba Chik, who insisted on it. Because you wore that wrapper with grace when everyone mocked you, he explained. And Grace wrapped you when you needed it most. He is her co-founder, her head tailor, her partner in truth. They hire 2 apprentices, young people who want to learn real craftsmanship. They work slowly, carefully, taking on only clients who understand that quality takes time. The first dress they complete together hangs in the window, and beside it, framed under glass, is Adizi's old faded wrapper, the one she wore that night, wine-stained and beautiful in its simplicity. Journalists come for the opening, fashion bloggers, customers who saw the video and wanted to support her. The space fills with genuine celebration, not performance. Someone asks about the wrapper on the wall. It's a reminder, Adiz explains, that what covers us isn't what defines us. That dignity lives in how we carry ourselves, not what we carry. Baba Cheek stands beside her, training one of the apprentices on the circle and cross pattern. His hands move patiently, passing down what was passed to him. The girl, 16, eager, asks about the symbolism. Circle is life, Baba Chiki says, repeating what Chief Okafor taught him decades ago. No beginning, no end. Cross is faith, the anchor that holds. Together they mean that life keeps moving, but truth stays centered. Orders come in steadily, international attention, magazine features. But Adizi keeps the operation small and personal. Each piece is tagged, crafted with grace, in memory of Chief Okafor. One evening, weeks after opening, Tamar walks in. She looks smaller somehow, stripped of the armor of wealth and entourage. She wears simple clothes, jeans, a plain top, minimal makeup. The young apprentice at the desk doesn't recognize her, starts to offer help, but Tamar asks for Adiz specifically. They meet in the small office at the back. Adiz offers tea. They sit in uncomfortable silence that Tamar finally breaks. I wanted to say, she stops. Starts again. What I did was wrong. I knew it was wrong when I did it, and I did it anyway. I told myself you were too small to matter, that no one would believe you over me. I was right about that until I wasn't. Adiz listens without expression. Tamar continues, words spilling out like confession. My whole life I've wanted to be special, to be someone, Betrayal continue. When I saw your work, I didn't see you. I just saw what I could become if I wore your talent like a costume. She looks up, eyes red but dry. I destroyed you for my ambition. I destroyed your father. Her voice cracks. I can't fix that. I know I can't. But I needed you to hear me say it. I'm sorry. The apology hangs in the air between them. Outside, Lagos traffic hums its endless song. Inside, the sewing machines have gone quiet. What do you want from me? Adaze asks finally. Nothing. Tamar shakes her head. I don't deserve anything. I needed to say it. To your face. Not online, not through lawyers. Just person to person. She stands to leave, and that's when Adaze notices it. The hem of Tamar's jeans coming undone. A small tear where the stitching has given way. It's the kind of thing most people wouldn't notice. But Adaze sees it immediately. The tailor in her can't help but see. Wait, Adaze says. Tamar freezes, uncertain. Adaze goes to the workstation, picks up a needle and thread, returns to where Tamar stands looking confused and afraid. Sit down, Adaze says, gesturing to the chair. Your hem is torn. I can fix it at home. Sit. Tamar sits. Adaze kneels, pins the fabric, begins stitching with quick, efficient movements. Her hands know this work, like breathing. The repair takes maybe 3 minutes, but in that time, something shifts in the room. Something old and poisonous begins to drain away. When Adaze finishes, she cuts the thread and stands. Tamar looks at the repaired hem, then up at Adaze, her expression breaking completely. Why would you, after everything Because I'd rather rebuild you than ruin you, Adaze says simply. My father taught me that broken things deserve repair, not revenge. And that grace is a choice you make every day, not just on the days when it's easy. Tamar's tears fall then, silent and genuine. She touches the repaired hem like it's precious. I don't deserve this, she whispers. No, Adaze agrees. You don't. But grace was never about deserving. It's about choosing to be better than the hurt that was given to us. They don't become friends. The damage runs too deep for that. But Tamar leaves with her hem fixed and something in her eyes that looks like the beginning of actual remorse. Adaze watches her go, feeling lighter than she has in years. Forgiveness, she discovers, isn't about the person who receives it. It's about the person who gives it. The freedom that comes from setting down the weight of justified anger. Baba Chiki finds her standing at the window, watching Lagos move in its chaotic beauty. Your father would be proud, he says quietly. You think so? I know so. He always said the measure of a person isn't in how they fight, but in how they forgive. You gave her something she didn't earn. That's the strongest thing you could do. Adaze leans into his shoulder. This old man who carried her father's legacy across years and grief, who waited in faithful patience for the moment when truth could speak. Family isn't just blood. Sometimes it's the people who remember who you were when everyone else forgot. Months become a year. Rapper and Grace establishes itself not through social media drama, but through the quiet persistence of good work. Their pieces appear on red carpets, in magazines, on the bodies of people who value craft over clout. Adaze expands slowly, hiring 3 more tailors, all of them older artisans, whose skills were being overlooked by an industry obsessed with youth and speed. She refuses to mass produce. Each piece is individual, made to measure, stitched with the same care her father taught her. It's not the fastest way to build a business, but it's the truest way. People wait months for her designs, and they're willing to wait because they know what they're getting. Clothes that carry story, that honor both maker and wearer. Baba Cheek becomes something of a legend himself. Fashion students seek him out, wanting to learn from the man who believed in the Maid designer. He teaches patiently, passing down techniques that predate fast fashion and disposable trends. Sometimes he tells them about Chief Okafor, keeping that memory alive through story. He used to say that sewing is prayer. Baba Chike tells a group of apprentices one afternoon. Every stitch is a conversation with God. You can't rush prayer. You can't fake it. You just have to show up with honest hands and let the work speak. The apprentices listen, bent over their own stitching, learning that speed is not the same as skill. Adaze frames one of her father's old sketches and hangs it behind the counter. The original circle and cross pattern, drawn in his careful hand, dated 15 years before anyone else claimed it. Customers ask about it, and she tells them the story. Not with bitterness, but with the matter-of-fact tone of someone who's made peace with her past. My father created this pattern, she explains. It was stolen, and I almost lost everything getting it back. But the truth has a way of surviving even when people try to bury it. She doesn't mention Tamar by name. There's no need. The people who know the story know. The people who don't know don't need to. One day, a reporter from an international fashion magazine comes to interview her for a feature on authentic African design. They want the dramatic angle, the theft, the betrayal, the wedding reveal. Adaze gives them something else. The story isn't about who wronged me, she says, sitting at her father's old sewing table that Baba Chike retrieved from storage. The story is about what survives when everything else is taken. My father taught me that you can steal a design, but you can't steal the ability to design. You can copy a pattern, but you can't copy the spirit that created it. That's what I want people to understand. Your value isn't in what you produce. It's in who you are when you're creating it. The article runs with photos of Adaze in her workshop, surrounded by fabric and apprentices and light. The faded wrapper appears in one shot, framed on the wall like art. The headline reads, "The Designer Who Wore Grace, How Adaze Okafor Reclaimed Her Legacy, One Stitch at a Time." The feature brings more attention, more orders, more opportunities. Adaze navigates it carefully, always checking in with herself. Is this honoring my father's memory? Is this serving the craft? Is this building something that lasts, or just something that trends? She turns down more opportunities than she accepts. Reality shows, brand partnerships that would require compromising quality, speaking engagements that want her to perform trauma for inspiration. She's not interested in being a symbol. She's interested in being a tailor. 2 years after the wedding, she's invited back to that same mansion in Ikoyi, not as a maid, but as a guest designer for another family event. The irony isn't lost on her. Sister Ngozi, the former head housekeeper who assigned her to champagne duty, greets her at the door with a mix of embarrassment and respect. "Madame Adaze, welcome. We're honored to have you." "It's just Adaze," she corrects gently, "and thank you." She doesn't lord her transformation over anyone. The other staff members who mocked her wrapper now ask for photos with her, and she obliges without smugness. What's the point of proving you're better than people? Better to just be better and let that speak. Baba Chike comes with her, not as staff, but as her business partner and honored elder. He walks through the mansion with quiet dignity, the same man he's always been, just visible now in ways he wasn't before. The family patriarch, the father of the bride from that dramatic wedding, approaches him personally to shake his hand. "You're the tailor who knew," the old man says, "the one who believed when no one else did." Baba Chike smiles. "I believed in what I saw with my own eyes. Chief Okafor's daughter could sew before she could read. Some things you just know are true." The event is smaller, more intimate than the wedding. Adaze has designed 3 outfits for the family, each one incorporating the circle and cross in subtle, personal ways. She watches as they wear her work with genuine appreciation and feels a satisfaction that has nothing to do with revenge or vindication. Just the simple pleasure of doing what she was made to do. During a quiet moment, she stands in that same reception hall where she removed her wrapper. The chandelier still glows. The marble still gleams. But the memory doesn't hurt anymore. It's just a thing that happened. A chapter that closed so another could open. "You good?" Baba Chiki asks, appearing beside her with his uncanny timing. "Yeah," Adaise says, and means it. "I'm good. Your father used to say that God writes the best reversals," Baba Chiki muses. "That morning, I saw you walk through those gates in your faded wrapper. I knew. I just knew. God was about to show off." Adaise laughs, real laughter, not performance. "You think that's what this was? God showing off? What else would you call it?" Baba Chiki grins. Maid walks into a mansion, gets mocked, removes her wrapper, and rebuilds her entire life from one perfect dress. That's not just victory, my sister. That's poetry. They stand there together, old tailor and young designer, watching Lagos's elite move through a space where she once served invisibly. The contrast isn't lost on anyone, but Adaise doesn't need them to acknowledge it. She knows her story. She knows her worth. That's enough. On the way home, sitting in the car, Baba Chiki still insists on driving, despite having enough money now to hire his own driver. They pass through Surulere. Adaise's old apartment building is still there, weathered and crowded and alive with Lagos energy. She doesn't feel shame seeing it. That room held her when she had nothing. It deserves honor, not embarrassment. "Sometimes I miss it," she admits. "The simplicity of it, when all I had to worry about was getting through the day." "You can still live simple," Baba Chiki says. "Simple isn't about money. It's about knowing what matters." And what matters? Work that honors God. People you can trust. Truth that survives. Your father knew that. Now you know it too. They drive in comfortable silence, the city passing by in its endless chaos. Somewhere in Victoria Island, Tamar is probably rebuilding her own life, learning her own lessons. Somewhere in Yaba, Rapper and Grace waits for Monday morning and the week's new commissions. Somewhere in memory, Chief Okafor smiles, his daughter's hand still carrying his teaching into the future. 3 years after the wedding that changed everything, Adaise stands in her expanded workshop training a new group of apprentices. There are 7 of them now, ages ranging from 17 to 53. She doesn't care about age or pedigree. She cares about hands that want to learn and hearts that respect the craft. She teaches them her father's pattern, explaining the symbolism as Baba Chiki explained it to her, as her father explained it to him, as his father probably explained it to him. The circle and cross passes through generations, carried by people who believe that some things are worth preserving. One of the youngest apprentices, a girl named Chiamaka, with quick fingers and keen eyes, asks the question they all wonder. "Ma, what happened to the woman who stole your designs? The one from the wedding?" The others lean in, curious. They've all heard versions of the story, seen the viral videos, read the articles, but they want to hear it from Adaise herself. Adaise considers her answer carefully. She could feed them drama, could paint Tamar as a villain who got what she deserved, but that's not the truth. And truth is what she's built this new life on. She made a choice that hurt many people, Adaise says slowly, including herself, though she didn't know it at the time. She lost everything because she tried to build success on someone else's foundation. But she also came back, apologized, and started over. That takes its own kind of courage. "So you forgave her?" Chiamaka presses. "I released her," Adaise clarifies. Forgiveness isn't always about reconciliation. Sometimes it's just about deciding that someone else's choices won't control your peace anymore. I wanted to be free more than I wanted her to suffer. The apprentices digest this. It's not the revenge story they expected, but it's the true one. What your hands create, Adaise continues, guiding them back to their work, will speak for you long after the moment passes. Tamar wore my designs like a costume she could remove. I wear them like skin because they came from inside me. That's the difference between copying and creating. Copy can be stripped away. Creation stays. She watches them return to their stitching, their young and old hands learning the same patterns, the same techniques, the same philosophy of patience and truth. This is the legacy, not the viral video, not the dramatic reveal, not even the successful boutique. This right here, the passing of knowledge, the preservation of craft, the quiet revolution of people choosing quality over speed. Baba Cheek enters with lunch, jollof rice and chicken from the woman down the street who always gives them extra meat because she loves what they're doing. They eat together, apprentices and masters, sharing food and conversation and the easy intimacy of people united by purpose. After lunch, a Daisy works on a commission, a wedding dress for a young woman whose mother wore one of Chief Okafor's designs 30 years ago. The circle and cross will be subtle, woven into the lace pattern where only those who know will recognize it. The bride doesn't know the full story. She just knows she wants something beautiful and true. A Daisy stitches slowly, her hands moving in rhythms her father taught her. With each pass of the needle, she feels him there, not as grief anymore, but as presence. The dead aren't really gone when you carry their teaching. They live in your hands, in your choices, in the way you pass their wisdom forward. Evening comes soft through the windows. Apprentices finish their day's work and leave with assignments. Baba Cheek sweeps the floor, humming old Igbo hymns that sound like prayers. A Daisy stands at the window, looking out at Lagos. This impossible, frustrating, beautiful city that broke her and rebuilt her stronger. The faded wrapper still hangs on the wall, framed and honored. Sometimes customers ask about it, and she tells them the short version. It's a reminder that what we wear on the outside is never the full story of who we are inside. But the full truth, the one she carries quietly in her heart, is more complex and more beautiful. The wrapper represents every moment of humiliation, every whispered mockery, every assumption that she was small and forgettable. But it also represents the grace that covered her when she had nothing else, the dignity she maintained when everyone dismissed her, the truth that survived even when buried. They laughed at her wrapper, not knowing it wrapped a legacy. As night settles over Yaba, a Daisy locks the workshop door and walks home, not to the cramped room in Surulere anymore, but to a modest flat nearby where light and space allow her to breathe. She carries her father's sewing kit with her always. The leather case worn smooth by decades of faithful hands. Before sleep, she opens it and just looks at the contents. Needles still sharp, thread still strong, scissors still precise. Tools that survived theft, grief, and time. Tools that will outlive her too, passing to whoever comes next with hands ready to receive them. Outside, Lagos never sleeps. Traffic rumbles. Generators hum. Life continues in its messy, complicated, beautiful way. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, orders to fill, apprentices to teach, choices to make about growth and integrity and staying true to the work. But tonight, a Daisy Okafor, daughter of Chief Okafor, student of Baba Chike, designer of truth, rests in the peace that comes from knowing she did what she came to do. She faced her destroyer and chose creation instead of revenge. She wore her wrapper with dignity until dignity revealed itself in ways that silenced every doubt. The gown from that night hangs in a museum now, part of an exhibit on African design and creative resilience. But the real gown, the one that matters, is the life she stitched back together, one patient stitch at a time. No one can steal that. No one can copy that. It's hers completely, wrapped in grace, held together by the circle that has no end and the cross that keeps the center true. She closes her eyes, her father's voice a whisper in memory. Every stitch should tell truth, Edigim. Every stitch should tell truth. And hers do. every single one. They laughed at her wrapper, not knowing it wrapped a legacy that would outlive their mockery, outlast their judgment, and remake the world one faithful stitch at a time. This is how grace wins. This is how truth survives. This is how a maid becomes a master, and a wrapper becomes a crown. Not through noise or vengeance or performance, but through the quiet, persistent, unbreakable work of hands that remember who they are even when the world forgets. A Daisy sleeps, and in her dreams, her father sews beside her, and Baba Chiki hums, and the workshop fills with light that never dims. The story ends where it began, in the understanding that what covers us is never what defines us, and that grace, when worn with dignity, transforms every fabric into royalty. They mocked her wrapper, but the wrapper held a crown all along, and now everyone knows. What would you have done in her place? Comment where you're watching from.